Hello and welcome to Community Forum, a community service of CAN TV. I'm your host, Juan Carlos Hernandez. For more than a decade, the current generation of men and women in the military have been paying a high price to serve the country. Many have given their lives, and we as a society also pay a price because we rarely see the great sacrifice their family members pay. As service members return home from combat, they bring a unique set of issues with them. How do family and friends respond to the needs caused by trauma, the trauma of combat, extended absence, or physical injury, among other issues? In our state, the Illinois Military Families Initiative addresses these needs. Here to discuss this important work is Jacques Rene Hebert from ChildServ's. Welcome.
Thank you.
Okay, let's start off by talking about this program and what inspired it.
This program by ChildServ's is a reaction to the current issues faced by military and veteran families in Illinois and throughout our country.
Okay, what are some of those issues? I mentioned some of them in the intro. Get into detail with some of those issues like combat trauma. What does that bring with it?
Well, of course, the trauma of combat has an immediate and lasting effect on the service member or the veteran. But that problem is also experienced not only by the veteran, but by the support system around the veteran, the family, the parents, siblings, children, significant others, spouses, brothers, sisters. Everybody experiences military service in either directly or indirectly.
So the service person comes back from combat, and their experience, without even having been there, it touches them, right? That combat experience.
Absolutely. When a military person deploys, their family back home experiences their absence, and of course the uncertainty of not really knowing if their loved one is in harm's way or really what kind of experiences they're having. And then when they return home, there's a stress of reintegration into civilian life. Many times the service member is a little different. After that amount of stress, of course it has an effect on the psyche of the individual, which of course then has an effect on the loved ones around them.
And it affects the generations differently, obviously, because a significant other will be touched much more differently than children or siblings. And talking about children, this is what you focus on with this. This is a pilot program, right? Tell me how when it came to be and how long it's been running and where you're serving people.
Well, this program is generously funded by Michael Reese Health Trust, and we wouldn't be able to have this program without that funding. But it's a direct response to these issues that really have been present, since wars have been fought, since warriors have had family around them, so forever. But we have a better understanding now of how those issues affect not only the service member but the family as well. It's really about building awareness. The Illinois Military Family Initiative is about building awareness around those needs, and also building awareness around the tools, the resources, the services that are available to these families in the community to help them out, such as our counseling service.
Okay, so this, because it was funded by Michael Reese
Health Trust.
Yeah. This started about what?
It was about 1.5 years, 2 years ago.
Okay.
And it's a direct response to families coming home from, or service members coming home from Afghanistan and Iraq, and we've seen those problems reflected in veteran unemployment rate, women veteran issues, and military sexual trauma. We've seen those issues reflected in the suicide rate that continues to grow.
Okay, you mentioned after you spoke about the funding that there's counseling available for these veterans and their families, correct? Um, Tell me, a lot of people, I may imagine a lot of people out there would like to probably go through some counseling, but are afraid or unaware of what happens in counseling. What is it like? Give me, you can make it up, an example of a person, a veteran, and maybe their family seeking counseling. What happens in counseling? What do they talk about? Uh, is it a long-term thing, a short-term thing? Tell me about that.
Well, our counseling program, our Armor Counseling Services, our military therapist is trained to have a thorough understanding of the issues affecting military and veteran families, and our priority is to help families and those individuals. The services are for individuals, families, children, couples.
Okay, so it's not just like I'm a former combat soldier attempting to, wanting to recover from some trauma, and I have a family. It's not just me getting the service, then it's a blanket that covers my family as well.
Definitely, it can. Our services fit the need.
Okay, so I come in, and what's the process? I call, I check in, I check through email, or how does that work?
Well, they can call ChildServe. They can check our website, which is www.childserve.org, and then our military program. There's a page that details everything that we do for military and veteran families. One of the unique things about our program is that we're both programmatically committed to community engagement and building this awareness through our programs, but we're also committed to direct service and helping those families directly through our Armor Counseling program, our early childhood development programs for families with children 0 to 5, and those help these children be prepared for preschool and kindergarten.
So we come in, I come in with my family, I fill out these forms, and then...
Well, it first begins with just a phone call.
Just a phone call?
A phone call will do it.
Okay.
And we can set up an appointment. All of our services for military and veteran families are free.
Oh, they're free. Okay, so we come in, or I call, we set up an appointment, and we start this process. How is the process for a family with young children, especially for somebody coming from back from combat? That must be an incredibly difficult process difficult place to step into, returning to their families. What happens in that early childhood education and support system that ChildServe has for these military families?
I think these issues are very serious and really affect the ability for these families to successfully reintegrate into civilian life. One of the hardest parts for families and individuals is just the initial step of asking for help.
Really?
And that's one of the things that we're really trying to do is encourage people to come forward. Again, the suicide rate reflects that people are not asking for help, that service members are not asking for help, that veterans are not asking for help, their families aren't asking for help. And we really want to encourage that it's okay.
Right.
I think one of the big roadblocks for military and veteran families is the warrior. One of the greatest strengths and one of the greatest weaknesses is a warrior mentality.
Right.
And
you live with the pain, you kind of just go through it, and it'll work out somehow eventually.
And that mentality is absolutely necessary in combat.
Right.
And in a combat area and during a wartime situation. Unfortunately, it's that mentality that many times keeps people from seeking the help that they need.
So how do you help through information or through other means? How do you help these former combat soldiers make that transition? How do you make them aware that help is there and help is not a sign of weakness, but simply a sign of being human outside of combat?
So we do that through our community action teams.
What do they do? Tell me, what do they go out? They drive out to hospitals, schools, or what? What do they do?
It's a little different than that.
Okay.
So we work in two communities, the Austin neighborhood of Chicago, and in the northwest suburbs, the Palatine Township area. And our goal is to build awareness, identify services, identify military and veteran families in need, and then do something about that.
Okay.
So currently, one of the things that we felt really makes a difference is hosting these resource events. That
how often do they take place?
They're throughout the year. We just had one in June, and then we'll be having one in the fall, and then we'll plan one again for the spring, summertime. And the goal of those is to bring is to really feature the community and the services that are available in the community to help these families. It's also to encourage the community to take a step up and help these families. And I mean, that's one of the biggest problems right there is the awareness, the public awareness of these problems and how these problems affect the family and the extent to which, the extent of these problems. I think many people aren't aware of, of the large suicide rate.
Tell us more about that, because that seems to be a point that you keep coming back to. It's obviously one of the reasons why you're doing this informative outreach. Do you know about any numbers about as far as the suicide rate among soldiers or former combat soldiers, or on how wide the effect is of that?
Yeah, I don't really have much of a head for stats.
Okay.
But it really has the unfortunate thing is that, we ask these men and women to do a very hard job for us.
Right.
And we give them all the tools to do that job extremely well. And unfortunately, when they come home and when that job is done, we don't have the resources available in the community, or we don't have the support system established and the awareness to make sure that these families, move on to transition successfully back to civilian life. And that's one of the things that we're really trying to build is that network of service providers and government agencies working together to help these families.
Okay. You served in what theater did you serve?
I served in Operation Iraqi Freedom in Iraq.
Okay, and when you returned from that, I guess what I'm trying to get, the question I'm trying to get to is, what type of service did you find? What kind of support did you find when you returned from there? Did you find a lot of support or minimal support or not a lot of information? And why has it become such a personal passion for you?
When I came home, I was very fortunate that I had an excellent support system. My family was, very supportive of me. And I think I needed to go through a period where I wasn't military focused. And I think that many families are in that mode right now, when they come home of maybe just needing a break from that. I also had a lot of friends that were armed with this information and really helped me get to the VA, put in my disability claim, and make sure that I was following, the P's and Q's and making sure that I got the services that I had earned and that I needed to be, healthy. And I think that's one of the things that I want to make sure that I do in this position is make sure that other families, other veterans get that same help. Right now, the VA does an awesome job of helping veterans. But right now in Chicago, it takes more than 400 days for a disability claim to be initiated and to be